This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Good evening, everybody. This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. It is a Tuesday evening. Almost forgot the microphone. You couldn't hear me, but you can see me. Thanks for joining us here on the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, part of Fans First Sports and the Fanatical Elves Network. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and the X right now. Let me get this microphone fixed so you can all hear me loud and clear because, I don't want you to miss anything. Yeah, well, the LeBron watch continues. We've talked about this. I haven't done a Johnny Cleveland podcast in a while. We've been doing our Coffee Jolt shows this summer, but I haven't done one of those this week. We will bring another one of those later, one of these mornings coming up. This is the last couple of days of my hiatus, my vacation from school. Get to go back. I'm one lucky guy, blessed guy to go back. School counselor by day, podcaster by night, writer for Dog Pound Daily and Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders as well. Check out those pages too. Some great writers at both those periodicals. And we'll continue writing. I got an article coming out about the Browns. Surprise. The article this time is that some knucklehead who writes for not a knuckle, I shouldn't say it's knucklehead, but somebody wrote on, I think, Spin Zone about 5 teams that are guaranteed to lose in week 1. And of course, they picked our beloved Browns. And while I don't totally disagree with that, the Browns do have a 3-win, 23 losses and 1 tie record going back to when they began the reboot in 1999. So I'm not totally against the idea that they might lose week 1, but there are many games this season that the Browns should win. I listed 5 of them. We'll talk about that maybe on the other side of the break. And what are some of the other games that you think the Browns are going to win in this upcoming Browns schedule of 2026? I listed 5, and maybe you can guess them if you go through the schedule. But I honestly believe that the Browns, again, could win, that 8-9 mark. Very doable. I think Vegas has the Browns going for 5.5 or 6.5 wins, and I would take that over. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here. But, we are talking about LeBron because that's all Cleveland fans. Well, we talk about the Browns, we talk about LeBron. Right? We're all tired. We are all so tired. And honestly, I've been seeing some texts, and maybe we're beyond tired. I talked about this last week. We're annoyed. We're probably we're all a little bit disappointed, or some of us are disappointed. We're annoyed. He's going in the year 24, and stop it with the whole, well, he should be given the time. He's earned the right to be given this time. That's just a bunch of BS, if anything. Come on, folks. This is ridiculous. And we all know it's ridiculous, but it's LeBron. So we have this sort of passion and this understanding, especially if you're from Northeast Ohio, that this is what it is. And, you listen to his manager, Paul, and the other people that are in his inner circle, and they keep saying, well, last week they said there would be a decision coming up soon. Hang in there. Today and yesterday, it's like, hey, he knows, he's evaluating everything still. Come on, LeBron. This is not like rocket science. And what reasons he has, I'm not in LeBron's mind. You aren't in LeBron's mind. But you're going to the year 24. Obviously, his family is, they're living in Los Angeles. They have family, obviously, in Akron. His one son plays basketball for the Lakers. So there's a lot going into this. I get that. But there are some ties to this. I mean, I think there are some indications, according to the things that I've read, that the NBA is kind of waiting a little bit from what I hear. I don't I think that could be a real possibility. We don't want to rush you, LeBron, but it has gone in pretty silly. And the reason it's gotten silly is because he likes to play things out, and we've talked about this. I mean, this whole fiasco started a month ago. I mean, go back and look at the timeline. We're coming up on a month. So I think he's probably trying to control every factor in this decision by who's going to be on each of these rosters. And that's probably where things are at. Like he is probably pushing his weight around because he's LeBron, and everybody wants to think of him. A lot of people like to think of him as there's nothing ever wrong with him, but I do think that he uh, has this power that he pushes his weight around. And I love LeBron. I love the fact that he helped bring Cleveland a championship in 2016, and I would welcome him back. But if he doesn't come back, the Cavs are still going to have a really very good basketball team. You should know that. As a Cavs fan, you should know that the Cavaliers are going to be a very sound, good basketball team. Can they make it to a championship? I certainly think they can. They didn't miss out by much last time. So if LeBron comes on, that's great. But here's the thing, he's 41 years old, folks. He might have maybe 1, 2 seasons ahead of him, maybe. I mean, if he's trying to decide between Philly and Miami and Cleveland, I think that's what it comes down to. Then somebody's speculating, Daryl Ryder speculated that maybe he was looking at the New York Knicks before the Knicks won the championship. Possibly. I mean, he's the Big Apple, New York City, all of that, the stars. He's been in Los Angeles. Kind of makes sense. And maybe he decides to go to New York. But there's the teams that keep circulating are Philly, Miami, and Cleveland. Philly, great team, great city. By the way, Dean Wade, or my buddy Dean Wade, is in Philly. So I'm kind of rooting on the side note that if LeBron goes to Philly, that Dean's going to be playing there with LeBron, who he never actually, I don't think he ever got to play alongside because I think LeBron left the season that Dean came in. And then there's Miami. Miami, I think he won a championship with them. He ruined Cleveland folks' lives back in 2010 when he made that first decision and went on national television to tell everybody that he was taking his talents to South Beach. So we've all seen it, done that. We're tired. LeBron, please make up your mind. You're welcome to take the time that you want because you're LeBron. But it's to the point where a lot of regular fans like me and like you who are listening are just tired of it. And if you want to come to Cleveland, great. It would be super fun, but it would have been a lot more exciting if you had made up your mind 3 weeks ago when you were sort of giving us clues and hanging out with your teammates from the past and hanging out in Akron, riding down the road and posting all these things on Instagram. So you like it, you love the notoriety, you love the spotlight, and you certainly are getting that on a daily basis. LeBron, come back to Cleveland, that would be great. But you're gonna have a lot of pissed off fans, a lot of people, we'll be pissed. Will we let it sit with us? Probably not. We moved on the last time. We'll move on again. But this second decision or third decision or 15,000 decision that you are doing right now is just ridiculous. Okay, let's pause here for a quick commercial break. This is the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Welcome back. It's the Johnny Cleveland podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network and Fans First. I want to give a shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer, a great little coffee company up in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Have a local store up there. You can go up there, check out their coffees. They give you a tour. Andy helps run the store up there. Talked to Andy the other day, and we are subscribers to their great coffee, have been for several years now, my family and I. But we have been working on giving you some sort of kickback or coupon. So if you listen to us here on the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we will give you that potential code here coming up soon. We've been working on it for a few days here. Also, I want to give a shout out to, I don't know if you can see this, Sherry's Licorice. I know it's in a bag. I'm trying to keep it fresh. Sherry's Licorice is another small company down in Goshen, Ohio. And talked to Dwayne, Sherry's husband, and Sherry, and I think the son helps. I don't know the son's name. I apologize to them, but they have a brand new website that you can check out. Just Google Sherry's Licorice, and they have been in the business for a while now. They have worked at like trade shows in the area and around the state and out of the state, and they sell their product. But this is like 1,000 times better than your standard Twizzler. And they have all flavors. They got a new watermelon flavor. And actually, I talked to Dwayne and Sherry today, and we are working on a coupon as well for you, the listener, or if you're a viewer here watching me live on Facebook or YouTube or the X. And if you use this potential code in the future, probably in the next couple shows, we'll get that code out to everybody. You can go to their website, use the code, and you're going to get a percentage off on on that licorice order. And who doesn't like coffee and licorice? So go grab yourself some licorice, go to their website, check them out, and enjoy all. They have all these new flavors. They have cinnamon, strawberry, red raspberry. I mean, God, I mean, who doesn't like licorice? We're going to talk about movies, and we'll talk about the Odyssey here in a little bit, and candy and stuff. So we'll come back to licorice in a moment. But let's talk a little bit about the Browns. Browns training camp is coming up. Browns training camp. I think the rookies are reporting here this week. I think tomorrow maybe, and then the veterans report next week. I think either Monday or Tuesday. The Browns are preparing to well, they're right currently immersed in this sort of quarterback competition again between veteran Deshaun Watson, hobbled, double Achilles tendon injuries, and so for some reason, some people think that he's going to be the comeback player of the year. I think it was Mary Kay, my wonderful Mary Kay, suggesting, maybe it wasn't Mary Kay. It was another writer who was suggesting that, so I apologize, Mary Kay, it wasn't you, that he could be the comeback player of the year in the NFL. Are you kidding me? Really? You want to say that Deshaun Watson's going to be the comeback player of the year? Oh my God. What is wrong with you? Like, come on, folks. Deshaun was awful when he got injured. He's a shell of himself. And the silly season, the last several weeks have just been hilarious. When we started this conversation after the mini camps that they had, at the end of that, Deshaun's like clearly had a leg up, and now quietly and quickly again, Shador's kind of bounced back, and there's going to be more of this competition. I'm in Shador's corner. I always will be. I have been promoting Shador's before we even drafted this kid. I think he has been um, in a way, like no way is he a fifth round draft pick. I know that's what he was, but he should not have been a fifth round draft pick. He should have been drafted a far higher than that, but the Browns got him in the fifth round. So I'm happy that he's a Cleveland Brown. I'm also really impressed with how Shador takes on these things on the side. This kid's a young 23, 24-year-old. He was on a podcast, not ours here, not mine, not the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Though Shador, if you ever listen to this, you're welcome to come on. She was on a different podcast talking about life, different things in football. And I just have always appreciated Shador's take on just little things and how he goes about life. And I think that he, in this podcast, he talked about different things about taking steps to get better and things that he can do, things that he can control, and not allowing other people, like, for example, what's the knucklehead the other day on ESPN, the retired funny idiot coach. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank here. Somebody remind me who the guy is who hates Shador. He's not works for ESPN. By the way, they're firing everybody at ESPN. I think they fired a laundry list of people today, including let me see, I have that listed here. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe, maybe not. I had it, and now I don't have it. Let's see here. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. They had Charles Davis got fired, who used to be with the NFL Network, now with ESPN. Ryan Clark was the big news because he was actually doing an interview on ESPN yesterday when they came and told him that he was fired. He didn't finish the episode that he was on. He's said a lot of silly, stupid things. Um, there's been some other big wigs that have been fired today too. Tom Pelissero, a longtime NFL Network guy, who NFL Network got bought out by ESPN, so he got fired. A lot of people not coming back to ESPN. ESPN has really lost its way. I think we can all agree. It's hard to watch. I mean, they don't. There's nothing there. It's not what it used to be, especially for us who grew up on ESPN and watching and listening to these really charismatic news anchors that really provided a lot of entertainment. The way that they do it now, it's just bad. So we'll see what happens with ESPN. Lots of things going on there, but getting back to Rex Ryan. That's right, Rex Ryan. I just remembered. Rex Ryan is a complete idiot, former Jets coach and whatever. He's yapping about Shador and how Shador is all about himself, even though Shador spent all day yesterday in Brooklyn in Brook Park at a camp, football camp for kids, 500 kids. But Shador is all about himself and promoting himself, and he just doesn't like that Shador, yeah, has released his own songs and music, and that was something else that Shador talked about in this other podcast I was listening to, that he uses the music as a hobby, which I highly recommend. As someone who's in the helps with mental health and whatnot, I think he even said he does Shador says he does the music so he doesn't have to go see a therapist, which I encourage everybody to go see a therapist if you need to see a therapist. But for Shador, at the young age of 23, 24, he loves music and it's his way of getting his feelings and his thoughts and his ideas out. And I applaud that. And I don't applaud some over the hill Rex Ryan who just says stupid stuff. And this is why, I mean, people like that are still working for ESPN, which is ridiculous. He should have no business working for them. And he's just an idiot. He doesn't make sense. And when he tries to make sense, he just makes more nonsense. Now, you might say the same thing about me, but I'm here live talking to you, and I appreciate you tuning in and watching us right now. I do see some comments here. Let's see what people are saying. Maybe there's some people here. Oh, there you go, James. Thanks for following in here. James is a loyal follower here who watches us. Appreciate that, James. He yes, you're right, James. You mentioned first we talked about Deshaun Watson. Somebody speculated. Oh, I know it was Rich Eisen. No, it wasn't Rich Eisen. Um it was Stacy Dales, who's a reporter of some sort. She's the one, or he said that Deshaun could be a comeback player, could be the NFL comeback player of the year. James says, nah, comeback player of the year will be Quinshon Junkins. Hey, Quinshon Junkins, people are like, he had a good season. I know that he didn't run for a great average. I think it ended up being like 3.6 yards or something like that. And people are bashing people that are out, especially outside of Cleveland, out there in the nation. They're ranking this Browns team, their offensive talent dead last and all this stuff. And it's just ridiculous. It's just not right. Quinshon Junkins is a very good running back. And yeah, I mean, I know the percentage or the yardage was not great, but he had 800 and some yards rushing. And you give him an offensive line, which I'm here to say the Browns offensive line is going to be better. I'll say that. They're not going to be great, but I expect them to be better. And with anything that's better, that'll help Quinshon Junkins. It'll help Dylan Sampson. It'll help whoever that third running back is. Nick Chubb's still out there. Nick Chubb's still out there. Um, What else did you say here? So go to the video he just released. It got you hyped. Okay, I'm gonna go find that, James. If you find the link, you can send it to me right here on the show. I'll watch it. Rex Ryan, appreciate that, James. Yep. I figured it out before I saw your comment, so it was in my head somewhere. Ryan Clark got fired. That's right. And then you also said Ryan Clark is in the bathroom quietly screaming at a Caitlin Clark poster. Okay. Well, if you've listened to my shows here, um, the young guy is doing something healthy to cope. That's right, James. Appreciate it. He's commenting about if you're listening to the show, one of our listeners are watching us right now, said that in reference to Shador, that Shador's way of coping, I talked about him listening to music and all that stuff. He says, imagine being mad because a young guy is doing something healthy to cope as opposed to acting unhealthy. Yep, you got that right. And that's the thing. Touchdown Tommy. That's right. Touchdown Tommy is available. And thanks again, Raul. Yeah, Raul's watching us too on YouTube. Appreciate that. Again, you can follow us here on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't onto our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our TikTok channel as well. We're at L's Network and all of these platforms. So if you Google or whatever ELFZ ELFZ Network NETWORK, you will find us. Oh, great! You got the link here. Okay, let me see. Okay, I'll look for it here. Got it. Okay. All right, back to the show here temporarily here, and we'll come back to your comments in a few minutes. So I already talked a little bit about these rankings, but this week one loss, this guaranteed loss, and like I said earlier, the Browns have only won 3 games in the span of 27 seasons in week one. One of their ties, do you remember that game when they played the Pittsburgh Squealers in Cleveland? It was a rainy September day, and the Browns tied them despite, I want to say that they turned the ball over or they recovered 6 or 7 turnovers in that game, and this game still ended up in a tie. So, I don't see the Browns. I don't see the Browns winning in week one. I think week two week one they play Jacksonville. Now Jacksonville, they're 3-0 the last 3 games they've played Jacksonville. The Browns are. They've won the last 3 games in a row against Jacksonville. Now the game is in Jacksonville. I love that city, by the way. I was there last summer. Really great town. Don't like their football team, but they are a great town. And Trevor Lawrence is 0-2 against the Browns. This guy who wrote this article guaranteeing this loss talked about the Browns losing because of somebody like Trevor Lawrence. And I wanted to say, wait a second, hold the phone. The Browns have beaten Trevor Lawrence the last 2 games. Yeah, they really have. And the other thing that he mentioned in this article that really got me fired up is Browns fans, you know this. He mentioned how the Browns will be kind of a guaranteed win for any team on opposing teams' dockets throughout the season. Like if you want to get healthy and you want to get a win, you can pretty much count on it if you play the Browns. And that's just not fair. We know as Browns fans that we struggle. But this team has a solid defense. Myles Garrett is gone. My colleague, Steve Gill, talked about his Dog Pound South show earlier this week about Myles being gone, but Steve predicts the Browns will still have a top 10 defense. Now, speaking of top 10 defenses, if you really go back and look, and I took a look earlier today, the Browns have not been in the top 10, but a couple times in that whole span with Myles. Really? They were ranked 4th last year. 4th last year. Overall, when they put all the stats together, the Browns were ranked 4th with their defense. But the year before that, they were in the middle of the pack. The year before that was 2023. I think they were ranked 1 or 2. But then the year before that, they were ranked in the middle of the pack. The year before that, they were ranked middle of the pack. So this idea that the Browns have lost this somebody else was, I think Rich Eisen, yeah, the quarterback used to be for the Bengals, was talking about where are the Browns, where are they going to make up those 20 sacks that Miles had? I'm like, what kind of stupid take is that? I mean, think about that for just a second, because okay, yeah, I know you lose, Miles had a record 20 sacks. How often are you seeing players get 20 sacks? Not very often in the NFL ever. Miles set the record. So, yeah, he was a great player and he got sacks. But you don't think, as Browns fans, or if you watch this and follow this Browns defense for a while, that they can't regroup and figure out how to still play good defense? Steve Gill is predicting them to be a top 10 defense, despite Miles going away. I tend to agree with him. Now, we were fourth a year ago, and we've been in the middle of the pack prior years to that. So it's not outlandish. I think that the new kid that's coming in here, the Jared Verse, yeah, he might not have 20 sacks, but let's say he has 10. And the idea too is he puts a ton of pressure. I think Steve talked about that in he wrote an article in his blog. Steve Gill writes this blog. Check it out. It's through our Fanatical L's network. I know I put it up there, but I think he talked about how all the number of pressures that someone like Jared Verse has put on the quarterbacks in his first 2 years in the league, or the first 3 years. So pressures are important, folks, not just sacks. And, Myles Garrett talked about it too with Mason Graham. He didn't get all the sack. Mason Graham didn't, but because he was putting pressure, Myles was able to get those sacks. The Browns are going to be just fine with their defense. The Browns are going to be just fine with their defense. And I know this offense is young. This whole team is young. But the Browns did what they needed to do during the draft. They brought in some people for the offensive set, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, that will immediately help. You throw in somebody like Jared McNeil Warren to play on defense, and some of these other offensive guys to play the offensive line. The Browns' offense is going to be better too. The Browns' offense will be better. So this notion that the Browns are the guy that wrote this silly article for Spin Zone said that Browns will be lucky to win 3 games this season. What? Really? Okay, we won 5 games last year. We won 3 games the year before. And I know it's July. And maybe in the dead of winter this year, we'll come back and we'll talk about how the Browns have only won three games this season. But I don't really believe that's going to happen. I think there's just too much talent, young talent, not molded yet, but with a hardcore, go get it coach like Todd Monken. You're going to see a shift. Kevin Stefanski had his run. Kevin Stefanski, I believe, is a good coach, but he had his run. There wasn't that buy-in. Folks, we're going to get some buy-in here. I can almost tell you right now, guarantee it, the Browns are going to get some buy-in. The Browns are going to buy into this new coach, this 61-year-old guy, because he can make connections with these players. I'm going to take a sip of my Diet Coke so I can keep talking. Okay, so the Browns are going to win they're going to at least win 5 games. I can guarantee it. I put that in my article. Should be coming out on Dog Pound Daily here later today or tomorrow. So check that article out as I rebut what this other guy talked about with the Browns losing in week 1. Okay. Let's see, what have I missed? So the training camp starts up pretty soon. Let's talk. Hey, I saw the Odyssey. Have you guys gone to see the movie The Odyssey yet? Yeah. Let's talk about The Odyssey. And just real quick, I didn't want to just talk real quick about the Guardians. The Guardians I think they were winning last I checked. Let's see here. They were up 3-2. Anybody have an update on the Cleveland baseball game? Got a chance to go up there with some great friends from school the other day. Oh yes, the Guardians beat the Twins tonight, 5-2. Great job, Guardians. They had 7 home runs in the game yesterday. They're getting an opportunity to play the Minnesota Twins, and it's helping right now. The game that we went to see on Saturday was a day-night doubleheader. Our game was supposed to be at 4 o'clock that afternoon, but the game Friday night got canceled and moved. So they had that game early, and then they had our game shifted to 7 o'clock. Well, if you're here in Northeast Ohio or Ohio in itself, it was raining quite a bit on Saturday, and so the game got postponed almost like 2 hours. But we stayed and we watched. But we were those fans that left in the middle of the eighth inning. Yeah, sorry, shouldn't have done that, should we? Well, we were all Cleveland fans except for our one colleague who was a Pirates fan. Um, I give him credit for wearing a Pirates jersey at an opposing stadium, but he's a diehard. I know a few other diehard Pirates fans out there. They are passionate baseball fans. And anyway, we left. And I don't know if you don't know what happened in the game. The Indians were down 3-0 in that game going into the bottom half of the eighth inning, and they went on to score 3 runs in the bottom of the eighth. And then in the bottom of the ninth, we got a 2-run homer, and I can't pronounce the guy's last name, and the Indians won 5-3. We missed it. We were already on 71 going south toward Columbus, but there's also a concert, a rock concert, no, a country singer, Zach Bryant, maybe concert there at Rocket Mortgage or Rocket Arena, and we got out right as the crowd was leaving for that, so we were very happy we got out of there. But the Guardians are doing good. They're right there in the thick of the playoff race. They were showing the American League standings today throughout the standings, and really, all these teams are really bunched together. Boston keeps winning. The Detroit Tigers are coming back into the fray. They're only 4 games back, so don't watch out for the Tigers. But Cleveland's doing just enough. They'll be getting Jose Ramirez back. Jose. I know there's this other guy, this Arias guy, that's just god awful. And I was talking to my colleagues who cover a lot of the games for Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders, and they were talking about this Arias guy. He's just lazy. Just I don't know why he's even on this team. He should be cut immediately. So we'll see what happens next. But Jose Ramirez should be coming back, and the Guardians are right there. We're at the end of July, going into August. Okay, before I talk about the Odyssey, hey, shout out to this is my own show, so I can talk about whatever I want. And let's see, comments that go. Let's go back to the comment section here. Thanks, James. Yep, we won 5-2. Appreciate that. And let's see here. It's going to be a team effort, James says. We'll probably see Verse with 8-12, Mason with 6-7, Schwessinger also. It's not going to be as easy with teams just to plan on how to stop Miles. Right, exactly. I think that's a really good point, James. That when we go back and we talk about this Browns defense, I think that's a really good observation that a lot of people don't want to recognize, or just who are lazy and just talk about, well, how are you going to make up the 20 sacks that Miles had? Well, because you got 3 guys right there that you just mentioned, Verse, Mason Graham, and Carson Schwessinger, who teams aren't going to, they're going to have to prepare for all of them. And that's going to be more difficult for these teams. I mean, when we were watching the game last year, the last game of the season down in Cincinnati, my colleague and I, Joel Cade, and I went down there to Cincinnati. I mean, my God, it was so obvious the entire game that Cincinnati played the one side of the field on offense. It completely stayed away from Miles. So James thinks that the Browns have a shot at going 10 wins and 7 losses. I agree with you, James. I do. Now, you start looking at the schedule. I guaranteed 5 wins, and I think you could probably guarantee 5 wins if you just look at that schedule. It's going to be a little bit harder to come up with 10, but hey, you never know. That we have that 4-game homestand too. Don't forget about that after a 3-game away stand. So, all right. So a couple. Let's get back to. Hey, I went and saw the Odyssey. I did want to shout out right before I talk about the Odyssey, the Ohio Light Opera. Yeah, opera. What are we talking about? So I grew up in Worcester, Ohio. Shout out to Worcester Generals, Worcester Fighting Scots, the College of Worcester, up in Northeast Ohio. Great community. If you're not familiar with Worcester, it's spelled Wooster. It's not Worcester, it's Worcester. And even though my grandpa used to call it Worcester, and many of you might call it Worcester. So they have, in the summers, they have a thing called the Ohio Light Opera. Well, it's what it is. It's music and it's opera, light-hearted musicals and such. It was started with some, like these guys named Gilbert and Sullivan. If you follow music or any of that back in the day, they've come up with a bunch of musicals like Pirates of Penzance and HMS Pinafore and the Mikado and all goes on and on and on. So, but they also have other shows through their Highlight Opera, like The Music Man and some other things that they've brought back, Oklahoma. And so got to go up there a week ago and just love going up there. We get up there once during the summer, and it's just really good productions. The casting is top notch. Most of these people that are in the productions are, either they've graduated from the top theater programs across the country, or they're in top, colleges that have theater programs, or they're off Broadway right now. So these people that are in these shows are just fantastic. So shout out to that. If you get an opportunity and you're in Northeast Ohio or you're anywhere in Ohio, go check them out on Google Ohio Light Opera. Do Google search. They have shows running to the end of this month, maybe the first week into August, and then they're done. But great, great. If you're in the music and theater and all that. So speaking, okay, so Odyssey, the movie came out, and obviously it's been a book that's been around for 3,000 years. So very good movie. It was shot on 70 millimeter IMAX, whatever. Let me get a sip of my soda here. But went and saw it, very good, and would encourage everybody to go see it at least once. It is kind of a lengthy movie, about 3 hours, but everybody who stars in it's very good, and they follow the story. If you've read books or versions of the book, some of those situations that you come upon, you'll probably remember. A lot of us read that book when we were in high school. And so it's out and worth seeing. That 70 millimeter theaters, there aren't many of them. I know my son lives up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he happens to be living close to one of them. There's only, like I said, only 25 in the whole country. So there's not even one of those theaters in Columbus. So you can't really see it on that type of film, that specific type of 70 millimeter film. But it brought back memories. They were talking about, putting that film and all that together. And some of you know that back in the day, long time ago, when I was a youngster and a young teacher living out there in Wichita, Kansas, I used to help run a one screen theater in a little suburb outside of Wichita called Derby, Kansas. If you go down to Derby, you'll probably still see the theater. It's been there forever. Guy named Bob. Shout out to Bob. Bob, I forgot your last name, but Bob Jones maybe was his name. Bob owned this little theater when I was down there, and then it was run by some of the folks that I worked with at the other school I was at. But I was the guy that had to take the film and actually like splice it. So when the film comes in, it would come in like these canisters, and the film you have to put it together then on these machines, and then you have to put the film onto these other machines, and then would share the movie. And so when you see what they're doing with the 70 millimeter stuff, now it's really just fascinating. I mean, they said the film weighed like 600 or 700 pounds. My God, like when I was splicing film, I'd get 4 or 5 small canisters. I don't know, each one maybe 15 pounds, but it's fun to see that and how that is done, and people really are into the movies and all that stuff. So I was thinking, um, the experience, going to the movies. It's talking about the Sherry's licorice earlier, and they sell things like Twizzlers and stuff there. But I'd rather bring in my Sherry's licorice. But what are the other items that you like to buy and get when you're at the movie theater? I know what are your go-tos? Milk duds. I brought my milk duds here. Now I'll get in trouble because Laura, my beautiful wife, who's been telling me for a long while now that I need to not buy these milk duds, and my kids don't want me buying these milk duds either because they're milk duds, they're wonderfully chewy chocolate. Well, sometimes if I talk too much, or if I don't drink enough liquid, I might start choking on some of those Milk Duds. So, Milk Duds and popcorn don't always mix too good, too well. So I try to stay away from that. But I did, go buy myself some Milk Duds the other day. I had a few, but not too many. I have had some bad moments over the years, some scary moments where I have kind of choked a few times on some Milk Duds. So anyway, so what are your favorites when it comes to movie candies? I'm usually a chocolate guy. God, they serve everything now at movie theaters. It's crazy. I unfortunately, when I went to see the Odyssey, I had bought a ticket and my seat, there was nobody. Like, how you can buy the tickets ahead of time. And it was like 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes before the show started. And there were multiple times that the movie was being shown. I picked a movie time. It wasn't busy. There's only a handful of seats already taken. So I picked a seat and went and bought the popcorn and the pop and the soda. And I bought the big pop and the soda, and the popcorn. And oh my God, it was a lot. I had just had lunch. So it was a bad idea. Plus I got the Milk Duds. And got into the theater and holy cow, like the place was packed. It was like there wasn't a seat left. And somebody where my seat was, there was another individual who had taken my seat. And so there was two seats, like two rows up in an aisle. So if you can imagine, if you've ever been in one of these types of theaters where you go up the aisle to the very top stack of seats across, there were like two or three seats that extend out like where the aisle usually is, and so you can sit there. So that's where I sat. So then I had this bar in front of me, but it didn't obstruct my view of the movie. I was just enough that I could see the whole screen without it obstructing it. So that worked out okay. But anyway, go see the Odyssey. Go get some of your favorite candy. Maybe go buy some Milk Duds like I did, and try not to choke on them. By the way, going back to the Guardians game, I was going to mention this, and if you saw my video, I posted it on TikTok, YouTube about the slider dog. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this slider dog? So, the stadium there in Cleveland is awesome. If you get a chance to go to Progressive Field, I would strongly urge you to do it. They've really done a good job of putting the concourse together and the foodie things that they happen. I know my colleague Troy and I are going to be doing a new Stadium Mustard Cincinnati Chili show coming up, maybe even tomorrow. We were supposed to do one last week, but something came up and we couldn't do it. I know we've been on hiatus for the last couple of weeks, but anyway, talking about food here, they have a hot dog stand called the Happy Dog, where they sell different types of hot dogs. Well, I got the slider dog. And the slider dog, you ready for this? Has macaroni and cheese, bacon, and Fruit Loops on top of a hot dog. Yes, indeed, Fruit Loops. So I did a little review of it. It was outstanding. I washed it down with some stadium mustard. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I would strongly urge you, if you want to do something unique and crazy, go grab yourself a slider dog. One of the best dogs, totally not Cleveland, but Seattle. If you ever get out to Seattle, my daughter lives out there in Seattle. My sister-in-law too and brother-in-law. If you go to a Seattle Mariners game, or even probably a football game out there, they have these things called the Seattle dog. Seattle dog is cream cheese and grilled onions on a hot dog. Oh my God, you got to try it. I've done it here at the house. Get some cream cheese, get some fry up some onions, and have yourself a treat. So, slider dog, Seattle dog, whatever you want, go have a good time and eat those. Let's see here. What was the other thing? The other thing, just a couple of little other side stories that I saw earlier. There's this story about, have you seen this in Chicago? I think it was either at a Cubs game or a White Sox game. An older guy was objecting to the fact that there was somebody in front of him who was sitting down during the national anthem. And I'm all for America, go America. I'm all for standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance and honoring our country. But it is a free country, and there are many people with diverse ideas, and this person decided to sit down. Well, this old guy did not like it and hit this guy in front of him over the top of the head. I mean, that's you can't lay your hands on other people. That's kind of one of those things that you should know, that the golden rule about how to treat others. So it's an interesting thing. I know and the thing is that social media now picks up all these different things, every little side story and everything that we didn't know about 20 or 30 or 40 years ago when we were growing up. You now know about that all the time, and it makes for interesting conversation, it doesn't it? All right, let me see here. I think I pretty much covered all my bases here. Anybody else have any messages or comments out there? If James or any of you who are watching right now, let me see here. I had put something down on my phone right before we started here. Again, I appreciate all of you listening and coming over here to our Fanatical Elves Network, our Fans First Network. I want to shout out also to Jeff Hartman of the Steel Network there, part of Fans First and the Pittsburgh affiliate. Jeff had me on as a guest earlier in the week. You can catch that show. It was on yesterday on their network, on the Steel Network. Let's Ride podcast that he does. And we talked about the Browns, and he talked about he asked me questions about my expectations for the Browns with a new head coach. What the Browns going to do with the quarterback competition? So it was a good times, and I would encourage all of you to go listen to that. Find that on the Fanatical. Well, not you can find it on the Fans First network. I think they have a website. You can find that, check that out, or you can just go to the Pittsburgh affiliate. I would always encourage you to listen to what other podcasters from the other cities are saying. We'll invite some. We'll have Jeff on my show here in the coming weeks as we prepare ourselves for the season. By the way, one of those games that I guaranteed the Browns winning is a week 4 game when the Browns have Pittsburgh come to Cleveland on a Thursday night. Their only game that they have in prime time on a Thursday night. The Browns are 4-2 in Thursday night games over the last several seasons, including a couple wins against Pittsburgh in that span. And they have Pittsburgh coming again in a home game. They get a home game to open the season against Carolina in week 3. And I think they're going to win that game. I think they're going to win the game against Pittsburgh, so that there are 2 guaranteed wins for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. Let me see what this comment is here. Yes, indeed, Raul. Thank you. I know Raul was mentioning Johnny Manziel, our favorite player of all time. We don't miss you, Johnny. You were a waste of a talent, and it's too bad that you never understood that you could have been a pretty good football player. Instead, you wanted to go party and have a good time in Vegas all the time. But we have better things to do here with the Cleveland Browns now, and it's a young, exciting team with an old coach who's never coached in the NFL as a head coach. So we got a lot of question marks still ahead. Training camp is just around the corner. Excited to be covering that. I will be covering that, and plus I'll be going up to some of the games covering for Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders. Got to cover that last year. What a thrill! I know there's some of you out there in the sports media here in Cleveland who have been doing this for years and blah blah blah, and you're used to being in the press box and the locker rooms and stuff. But this 56-year-old is still a young kid at heart, and we love the idea that I get to have that opportunity again. Thanks to Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders. Thanks to Natalie for making that happen, and look forward to writing more for them this year for Dog Pound Daily. So lots to come. Hey, if you have an interest in podcasting, again, give me a direct message, or if you want to give a direct message to the Fanatical Elves Network, I can get that too. But if you have any interest, if you ever podcasted or ever thought about podcasting, you want to reach out to us. If you have an interest in the Cleveland Browns, this is a great opportunity. Ends of July. Let's get your career started as a podcaster. Again, shout out to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. Shout out to Sherry's Licorice. Excited about those connections with those 2 businesses, and look forward to providing you some amazing licorice and some amazing coffee through here through the Fanatical Elves Network. And we're going to be giving away prizes and gifts coming up on these Thursdays, these Fanatical Elves shows. That we'll have one with Steve Gill and myself coming up on Thursday. So check that out. Rod Bloom will be having his Browns Blitz with his brother Jeff soon as well. He's also, I know Rod was looking for guests to come on his Browns Blitz. So if you want to be a guest with his show, if you want to be a guest on my show, I know some of you have followed us along here, James and others. If you'd be interested in being a guest on our show, let me know that as well. Everybody, hey, take care. Hope you all have a very good rest of your week. We've had a lot of rain here today in Cleveland, and it's going to cool down. We're actually in the Columbus area. Cool. Lost my mic there. Can you hear me yet? Okay. See you all later. Remember, too, that's right. Keep smiling.